A 32-year-old woman, Monique Munoz, killed when a Lamborghini SUV T-boned right into her. But what's making headlines is who was behind the wheel of the $220,000 vehicle. Wonderful.
American SUVs and pickup trucks have a fatal crash rate nearly double the national average. They're killing more people than any other vehicle type on the road. Not because they're poorly built, but because they're built too well, for the people inside them, that is. For everyone else, they've become the deadliest machines in America. And the bigger the vehicle that hits you, the deadlier the outcome. So how did family cars turn into killing machines? The answer reveals a dark truth about how we've redefined safety in America. Back in 2009, something remarkable happened. Pedestrian deaths in America hit their lowest point in the modern era. Just 4,100 fatalities. Safety advocates were cautiously optimistic. Cars were getting smarter. Drunk driving campaigns were working. It seemed like we'd turned a corner. Then everything changed.
The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety released a new report this week showing
By 2019, pedestrian deaths had surged past 6,000. By 2021, they'd reached 7,342. A staggering 80% increase in just over a decade. During that same period, Europe saw pedestrian fatalities drop by 16%. So what happened in America? The answer is parked in your neighbor's driveway. Between 2009 and 2021, the American vehicle fleet transformed. In 2009, pickups, SUVs, and vans made up 47% of new vehicle sales. By 2021, they dominated 78% of the market. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety connected the dots. Cities with the highest growth in SUV and pickup ownership saw the largest spikes in pedestrian deaths. When a regular car hits a pedestrian, it typically strikes their legs. The person often rolls onto the hood, painful, sometimes deadly, but often survivable. When an SUV hits someone, it's a different story entirely. That high, blunt front end strikes the torso or head where your vital organs live. Where a car might break your legs, an SUV breaks everything. Pedestrians are 44% more likely to die when struck by an SUV compared to a regular car. For children, it's even worse. They're 82% more likely to be killed. In Chicago, the crisis hit home. By 2023, almost half of all pedestrian fatalities were caused by larger vehicles like SUVs and pickups. Northern Illinois officials started calling it what it was, a traffic safety crisis. This isn't because SUV drivers are worse drivers. It's because we've created vehicles that are exceptionally good at protecting the people inside them, and exceptionally bad at protecting everyone else. We've engineered a zero-sum game where your safety comes at the direct expense of mine. To understand how we got here, you need to understand what happened to the American truck. In 1990, the average pickup weighed about 3,500 pounds. Today, many tip the scales at nearly 5,000 pounds, a 1,300-pound increase. But weight is only part of the story. Stand next to a modern pickup truck, and you might notice something unsettling. The hood comes up to your chest, sometimes higher. The Ford F-250's hood stands 55 inches tall. That's taller than the rooflines of many sedans. We're talking about family vehicles with hoods that reach the eye level of many adults. When did everyday transportation start looking like commercial equipment? The transformation happened gradually, then suddenly. Automakers discovered that consumers loved the commanding driving position of taller vehicles.
You buckled, sis?
Yes, Mommy.
Chelsea Ohlmiller takes her kids to school in an SUV.
We love it.
She likes how it drives, and she likes the view from a larger vehicle.
There are definitely some benefits to sitting up higher.
They felt safer sitting up high, surveying traffic from above. Marketing departments leaned in, selling road presence and commanding views. So hoods grew taller. Grills became more imposing. Car designers will tell you privately that the massive grills on modern trucks and SUVs serve no functional purpose. They're what the industry calls styling elements, designed to look aggressive, to project dominance. One designer described it as designing for intimidation. The irony is crushing. We made vehicles look dangerous, and then we're surprised when they actually are. But every inch of added height carries a cost measured in lives. Researchers found that for every 10 centimeters, about 4 inches, of additional front-end height, pedestrian fatality risk increases by up to 31% for women and 19% for men. Women face higher risk because they tend to be shorter, meaning the impact zone is more likely to hit vital organs. At 27 miles per hour, a typical neighborhood speed, a pickup truck has an 83% chance of causing moderate injury to a pedestrian and a 62% chance of severe injury. A regular car at the same speed, 60% and 30%. The difference between walking away and never walking again. The mass matters in another way too. When a 5,000-pound vehicle hits you, it delivers crushing force that a 3,000-pound car simply can't match. But heavier vehicles also take longer to stop. A lot longer. Those extra feet of braking distance can mean the difference between a close call and a funeral. Large SUVs and pickups have front blind zones, stretching 10 to 16 feet.
Seconds, and it happened. Don't ever think that it couldn't happen to you.
This Indiana toddler died when he ran into the blind spot of a vehicle. The location of that blind spot may shock you.
Enough space to hide not just one child, but many. One demonstration in front of a US senator fit dozens of seated children in the blind zone of a single SUV. And unlike the backup cameras we've mandated since 2018, there's no requirement for forward visibility aids. We solved half the problem and declared victory. The consequences are heartbreaking. In 2020, over 500 Americans died in front-over incidents, struck by vehicles moving forward, usually at low speed, often in driveways or parking lots. Another 10,000 were injured. Between 2016 and 2020, 744 children were killed by forward-moving vehicles in non-traffic areas like driveways.
Parking lots are very dangerous for children because children are small, cars are big, and drivers can't see them in the blind zone around their vehicle.
Most victims were toddlers. Frontovers now kill twice as many children as backovers. We solved one visibility crisis with mandatory backup cameras, but ignored the bigger danger right in front of us. Kidsandcars.org, a safety advocacy group, has documented these incidents for years. They've shown how predictable these deaths are, how preventable. They've demonstrated that what we dismiss as freak accidents are actually the inevitable result of bad design meeting everyday life.
Still, there is work to be done. 77 people still die every day on Europe's roads.
While American pedestrian deaths soared, something very different happened across the Atlantic. The European Union saw road deaths, including pedestrians, drop by 16% between 2013 and 2021. In 2005, Europe implemented something America still lacks: pedestrian protection standards for vehicle design. Car manufacturers had to build vehicles with energy-absorbing bumpers and hoods designed to reduce injury on impact. The European New Car Assessment Program started crash testing vehicles for pedestrian safety back in 1997, a full quarter century ago. The contrast with America is huge. In Europe, if your car's front end is too rigid or too high, you can't sell it. Period. The same SUV that would fail European safety standards can be sold here without modification. We literally have different versions of the same vehicles. One designed to protect pedestrians, one designed without any such consideration. But Europe didn't stop at vehicle standards. They redesigned their entire approach to road safety, adopting what they call Vision Zero, the radical idea that no loss of life in traffic is acceptable, not minimize deaths, not reduce fatalities. It sounds idealistic until you see the results. Sweden, which pioneered Vision Zero, has one of the world's lowest traffic fatality rates. The Netherlands dropped cyclist deaths to a quarter of US levels through protected bike lanes and intersection designs that assume people will make mistakes. Paris took an even bolder step. In 2024, voters approved a referendum to triple parking fees for heavy SUVs in the city center. The mayor was blunt about the data. Pedestrians are twice as likely to be killed when struck by an SUV compared to a standard car. The message was clear. If you want to drive a vehicle that's twice as dangerous, you'll pay for that externality. Other European cities are watching closely. London is considering similar measures. Berlin is exploring weight limits for vehicles in certain districts. It's not anti-car, it's pro-survival, and the numbers prove it works. We've created a deadly feedback loop. You buy a bigger vehicle to feel safe from all the other big vehicles. Your neighbor does the same. Soon, everyone's driving urban tanks, and we're all less safe than when we started. It's the perfect example of what economists call a collective action problem. What's rational for individuals, protecting your family with a larger vehicle, becomes irrational for society when everyone does it. We don't gain safety. We just shift danger outward, onto sidewalks, crosswalks, and driveways. But here's the hope. We've solved problems like this before. When seatbelts were introduced, people resisted. I'd rather be thrown clear, they said. When airbags became mandatory, automakers complained about costs. When backup cameras were required, the same arguments surfaced. Yet each time, the technology became standard, prices dropped, and lives were saved. The solutions already exist. Automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection can reduce pedestrian crashes by 27%, even more in daylight conditions. The technology uses cameras and radar to spot pedestrians and automatically brake if the driver doesn't react. It's already in many luxury vehicles. Making it standard would save hundreds of lives annually. Design changes could help too. Lower, sloped hoods that deflect rather than crush. Energy-absorbing bumpers that crumple on impact, front cameras that eliminate blind zones, speed limiters that automatically slow vehicles in pedestrian-heavy areas. None of this is science fiction. It's all available now. Some manufacturers are already moving. Genesis, Mazda, and Subaru earned top marks in recent pedestrian crash avoidance tests. They proved you can build a vehicle that protects both occupants and pedestrians. But voluntary adoption isn't enough when thousands of lives hang in the balance. The question isn't whether we can fix this, it's whether we will. Every year we delay, thousands more die preventable deaths. Children disappear into blind spots. Families are shattered by impacts that didn't have to be fatal. The federal government has finally started to acknowledge the crisis. In 2023, NHTSA proposed adding pedestrian crashworthiness tests to vehicle safety ratings. It's a start, but a timid one. Manufacturers might self-certify. The tests won't immediately affect star ratings. We're moving inches when we need to move miles. Meanwhile, cities aren't waiting. New York and Washington, D.C. are exploring weight-based vehicle registration fees. The logic is simple. Heavier vehicles cause more road damage and pose greater danger. Why shouldn't their owners pay for those externalities? We've built vehicles that are marvels of engineering for the people inside them. Modern cars can detect drowsy drivers, automatically maintain safe following distances, even park themselves. We've made driving safer and easier than ever for drivers. Now it's time to remember the people outside matter too. The mother pushing a stroller, the kid biking to school, the grandfather crossing to the corner store. Until we remember that, the safest cars on the road will keep being the deadliest. And every morning, more parents will load their kids into SUVs, never realizing they're perpetuating the very danger they're trying to escape.